We're really excited about the new season that is happening in our city, where the question that gets asked is, how can we do this together? Instead of, how can we do it better than you? So we're very excited about that. And so I've asked Becky Kern to come and share. Our topic is leadership development. Becky is the campus launch pastor at Pantano. She also is the church planting resource coordinator for Tucson. We want to plant churches collaboratively in our city, which would be kind of a cool thing. And so Becky is helping us with that. So would you join me in welcoming Becky Kern? Stay down.
Good morning, thank you. We have a special time in our city, as you all know, right now. 10 years ago, this couldn't have happened. 7 years ago, it couldn't have, and we might have fought over it 3 years ago. But now we don't, and so we are in good shape. What we're talking about is developing healthy leaders. And many of you have in your organizations or your churches, you have leadership development that you do. That is way cool. It may be that as you are working with someone, building them up, growing them up in ministry, that you come across something they need to make them a better leader, a healthier leader, and you need to know where to send them, what to do for them, how to get them what they need to be healthy in that next level. And our premise is, it's all right here. It's right here in our town. Each of you, many of you have, besides what you do day in, day out, you may have passion, gifting, or training in some area that would benefit leaders as they're trying to get healthier to lead at a more in-depth level. So this is something we are equipped to do together, and it will only work if we do it together. And so my partner in ministry today is Michael Gray from Alive Church, and so this is out of our heads and to you. So what we're going to talk about is a collab, and collab is the word for previously not connected groups coming together for some purpose. That's us. That's what we're doing. So the areas of developing healthy leaders, we took a look at this and we thought maybe in wholeness, maybe their vision, and then how to actually launch them into what you want them to do. And this isn't to launch them necessarily away, although that may be your plan for them, and you want them to get healthy before you send them out. It may be within your organization. You need them to be a little healthier. Maybe it's a stage of life thing, and they've stepped up at halftime, and they're ready now to go into ministry a little more full-time or to use more of their gifts, and you want to get them well-rounded. So the competencies we were looking at in wholeness was family life. You have to take a look at family life. And what we did is we looked at the things that would put a bigger target on your leaders as you sent them out or moved them up or moved them over. What are the things that would make the target much larger for the enemy to grab them or to take them out of leadership? Maybe their emotional health. Maybe they have all of those, but they're in debt. And it weighs them down. It's weighing on their family, weighing on their marriage. Maybe it's some spiritual disciplines. Maybe they never got those. Maybe they don't know what to do with those. Maybe you see a problem with character, and you'd like that to be addressed in order for them to be a healthy leader. And there may be other areas we come up with. So in wholeness, we looked at couples' health. Sometimes the married couple needs some help. Sometimes it might be financial training to address those finance issues. Maybe some soul care is in order. Maybe you realize they need some soul care. Maybe spiritual disciplines, character. These are areas where you may be equipped to help them, or you may need to partner with someone sitting at this table or that table or across from you to help them with that. So that's wholeness. In the area of vision, what's their ministry history? What's their level of education? What's their kingdom focus? Do they even know some of these? That'd be helpful. What's their leadership strengths? Do they need an internship for a time? Do they need to go practice what you're trying to help them grow into? And maybe you have availability for that. At your congregation or within your business, maybe you need to partner for that. And then there will be others. So with vision, we might need help identifying the vision. They may need some help with biblical education. They may need to be able to clarify their vision. Sometimes what happens in vision, and this has happened when we've gotten residents in, they grew up thinking they were going to be a whatever, youth pastor. My grandfather was a youth pastor, my father was a youth pastor, and by gosh, I'm going to be a youth pastor. When you see that they hate kids and the kids hate them, it may be a time to reclarify the vision. So that's what we're talking about. Maybe it's outreach focus. Maybe they come from a church or business or nonprofit organization where the focus was totally inward. Maybe they need some help seeing a bigger picture, and maybe that's something you'd like to have them partner for. Maybe they need an internship to practice. Maybe they need to hang out with some other pastors. Maybe their idea of pastoring has been a single vision, and maybe they need to hang out with some of those of you in this room, actually. Maybe they are really good about a lot of church things, except you know you can't trust them with church finances for whatever reason. So maybe they need to go hang out with the executive pastor group and let them help shape them. So that's a possibility. For competency, before we would actually launch them or when they're getting ready, say in wholeness and vision, they're really pretty strong. So in the area of competency, before you want to move them up into your ministry area, maybe they just need to practice. Maybe they need a coach. Maybe they need a mentor. And I've been to the little thing that tells me those are two different things. So I'm now educated. Maybe it's in readiness. Maybe they don't have a clue how to get ready for what they know they're gifted for and you know they're gifted for, but they need some help in getting ready. And there may be other things. So launching, they may need coaching. They may need some ministry connections. 10 years ago, as we said, we could not have done this very well in our community. But that's no longer, because now we have each other and we trust each other with what our different gifts and passions are. You know how many years it took for those of you who are a long time in the church? You know how long it took for us to realize that when the thing about the body and some are hands and some are feet, remember how many decades it took to get that? Like in your own church, where everybody had to be a hand because there were like 11 of you, and so you all had to be the hand because that's what was needed that day. That took us long enough. Then to break the walls down some years back and do that amongst us, where we knew your congregation might be the hand and yours might be the feet, or your ministry organization might be the hand and yours might be the feet. And we got over ourselves and we were okay with that. So the next logical step is, now we can do this together to help develop healthy leaders for our community or for wherever God is going to call them. So it might be coaching, might be connections, maybe mentors. Maybe you've got a great young guy that Michael and I plan to steal to plant a church. That we plan to partner with you. Was that my outside voice? That we plan to partner with you to plant a church. And you say, you know, he's really great. He's got a lot of the gifting. He cannot stay on point to present a message to save his life. Maybe he needs to partner with some folks around town who do teaching team. Senior pastors of old, when they were the only guy, and maybe some still get to, do whatever they want when they get in the pulpit. Sometimes that works really well. When you have a multiple staff, you have to submit your notes to a teaching team. When you first present it, they tear it apart and say, what were you thinking? So you revamp it. So then you do it one more time and they say, closer. Then you present it, and after the first service, they say, that did not come out how you planned. So what if your guy or gal who's ready to present, but they can't pull it together? Maybe this is what they need, to sit with people who do that for fun. Maybe they need to go to an assessment. A really professional assessment, not you and me assessing, but an assessment group that this is what they do for the kingdom. And it's grueling, it's hard. It's 4 to 5 days, depending on which unit you use, and it is hard. Well, we don't want to send them to assessment already knowing that we have all these holes in these other areas, because they'll just blow them up. That's not good. So we want to get them healthy here and get them ready before we would send them to a professional assessment. And there may be other things. So these are the 3 areas. And there are a few ways this is going to happen. We are going to maintain a database, if you will, so we can data mine what you're looking for. So maybe you get a hold of, and there's a URL you're going to use that Michael's going to help you with in order to do this electronically. And also on your table, there are some hard copies of saying, hey, I or someone I know, someone I hang out with, is really good in the area of maybe wholeness, and say, we've got a great soul care thing, and it's helped a lot of people, and we would be willing on a citywide basis to take some folks who, if they inquired about that, maybe it's biblical education. We have several folks whose ministry focus is to help people know how to rightly divide the word of truth. And maybe that's all your person needs. So this information will come in through the hub team, and we'll put it into a database. We'll help you find it, and we'll help find what you need and put you in contact with. What this is not is a 501c3 or business. Michael and I have other jobs, and we already know what we're supposed to be doing in real life. This is just our fun one. And so it's not gonna, there's not a charge, there's not, unless what you need to have them grow in requires a charge, then that's between the individual who is growing and whoever sponsors them or whoever wants to help them. So if they need to go to Pastor's Edge and hang out and be with pastors, if there were a cost with that, or if there was something they do, then that would be the individual's responsibility. It's not anything that anybody's paying into, unless you're sponsoring someone and you want to help with that, then of course that would work. That would be good. So the information will come in through to the hub team, which at this moment is Michael and myself, and we're working on getting a few others, so that we can take a look at what you have, what you can do, what you offer kingdom-wise, what your specialty is, what your passion or gifting or training is, and how we can use it for the whole kingdom, for the whole body, for the city church. So it'll come in here. We'll take a look at these areas. Also on the hard copy and on the electronic copy is for you to say, I have this guy or gal, and really, they're really close. I could launch them if I could just get them healthy in one of these areas. And if you can help identify that, or talk with the team to help identify that, we can look at their gifting, we can look at their background, we can look at references, because again, sometimes what we have in our mind we're designed to do, and what is living out around us might not be the same. So we can help with that. So they may come in and we take a look and say, yeah, they're pretty good in the other 2, but they need some wholeness, healing. There needs to be some healing happen here, or the target is going to be too big on them when they get out into ministry. Or maybe that one's not bad, but we say, whoa, vision, not aligned with who you are. Maybe we should take a look at that with you. Or maybe those 2 are in good shape, and you say, well, in order for you to launch, here's some steps, here's some things you need for you to go out without such a big target on you for the enemy. Maybe as they come in, they need to go the whole route. Maybe they go straight across. There's no, we're not setting up a school where they have to start here and go through the whole thing. Because the whole beauty of doing this together is, you might have some folks who only need one part of this, and you've been wondering, how can I get him or her at a higher level in this area? And maybe you knew who to partner with because you've been here forever and you know who to partner with. Maybe you didn't know, because believe me, some people are going to present today and maybe you didn't know that's what they do. Because they may have a different job that they do. They may be in other area of ministry, but they have this passion or gifting or training for what? Marriage ministry, for something else that you may need for your person who is wanting to grow to be a healthier leader. This isn't about stealing anybody's sheep. We have a full staff at Pantano, so rest assured, everything's okay. We don't need your people. I don't know about Alive. I should have checked. Oh, they're good. Oh, and his boss is here, so they're good. So this isn't about training them to be with whoever you're getting help from. This is about training them up for you, where you use them, where you need them, where they've been gifted but just need a little bit of help. So the beauty of this is You can go online and tell us what part you can play or who you have. You can look at the papers on the little cards on your table. That's another way to tell us, hey, I've got this thing. Also, just off the top of the collective heads that were present for, 30 minutes of our time together, we know some of what some of you do. And so we're going to have a few people. Is that an hour later? We're going to do that right after lunch. But you're going to get to hear from some of them. But I want you to be thinking, who do you have in your ministry that you say, man, if I could just get him or her past this or some training in that, or they would be stronger if they had a better view of what? Then that's what we want to talk about, because we want to search through the city for Tucson is an amazing database for what's going on in the city. And we want to say, who has that? Who can we partner with to provide that for your person, for you to grow them, for your ministry, or wherever God is calling them? And so churches like Pantano, a lot of you have leadership development courses for your people, or tracks, or whatever you call. Those are great. What if you come up with someone and you say, whoa, where do I send them for this piece? Who do we have? And if you don't have someone in-house or connections with, that's when we partner. And that's the brilliance of this, is we are at a stage in our community that God can use each of us and our hands and feetedness. Don't put that in your books. I don't think it's a word, feetedness. But it's only because chapter 2 says we have become mature in Christ. And our city, as a church, a city church, because the walls have come down and because we can do this together, there's a maturity that not a lot of cities are getting to experience. And so it's our privilege to get to partner now to do the things that we weren't created to do. So this is what Healthy Leader Collab is. We call it Collab for short because we get tired of saying the whole word. And so this is just an idea of how we can use the gifts, the talents, the training, the passions that God has placed here that before we never would use unless we happened to have someone in-house that we knew did that. And so now the in-house is actually the whole city. So that makes our partnering very, very special. And the chance to train leaders better, make them healthier, is right here. You don't have to send them off. You don't have to send them away. You don't have to buy talent and bring in professional people. You've got them right here. And we now plan to use them. Thank you.
So you've already heard kind of a main piece of what we want to communicate today about what a healthy collab in our city could look like for leaders. We want to have a quick testimony. Mike Beer is going to come on up and share one of his leadership stories. So come on up, Mike.
Well, hello. This is going to be more like the leadership fly-by-your-pants school story after our last sharing. I just want to encourage everyone today. I think in 3 big pieces of leadership would be finding out who you are or who we are together, and then also how do we fit into God's big story, like what's the kingdom thing going on that we can fit into, and then the third piece is what's happening right now, what's the need of the hour, so that we can jump in there. So my story covers those real quick. Who I am, in my background, I've got hard labor, just being a worker bee. I've got being a nature boy who likes the beauty of our city, going hiking. I worked as a waiter before, so I believe in the idea of just serving people. I get joy out of that. I have an engineering degree and have a mind to connect things and see the flow of things and organize things. And I've worked with schools and kids. So that's kind of who I am, and that's part of how God can use me. And so then about 10 years ago, I got involved in city thinking here, more kingdom thinking. I found out I'm also more of a forest thinker than a tree thinker, big picture. So with that in mind, I believe that we in Tucson can actually, instead of fishing with hooks, we can actually put a net out there, right? Together, make a big net and bring through the city a great harvest. So I think that's part of what we're doing in our city. So that's part of what was happening. And then listening, anyway, is part of what's going on. So with that, I got involved in the city stuff, got involved with organizing prayer around the city. I'm getting involved with city think. I'm meeting lots of people. And then with that city idea, like Corinth, Ephesus, this idea that God even has an identity for Tucson. That's very specific, and I believe in that idea. I believe it's a kingdom thought. It's from the Bible. So with that idea, I believe it's part of its beauty, or is part of its identity. It's a beautiful valley, right? That's part of what Tucson is. It's a beautiful place. Be outside, be healthy. So as I was doing all these things, I started to get involved in the city. I'm listening, and people were complaining about blight about 6, 7 years ago. Even today, I heard more about this city was just rough on the edges about 6, 7 years ago, the downturn. And I just thought, hey, I'm a worker kind of guy. I can jump in there and clean up messes, you know. I met all these people, and so we rallied one project to happen at Tully Elementary School. I already knew people there, and part of leadership is to work with people, right? So where do you know people? Well, that's God's sign that favors with you, and you make something happen. And so bingo, we had a big project at Tully, and that project went well. Barney here filmed it, and we shared around the city. And so now we have a story. When you're a leader, you get a story. And then what? You can take that story and multiply it. So all of a sudden, more schools let me get involved. And since then, 5 years later, I've been in over 50 schools with over a few thousand volunteers. Got friends at the U of A, friends with the mayor, friends with nonprofits, friends with all the churches. All this is going somewhere, and this is my story about how we can get involved. I was on the front page of the paper last summer somehow. Don't know how that happened, but thanks to the connections, got a $5,000 award from Cox, and God, just through all of us working together, made that happen. So now the question is, you know, I've got my problems like that thing shows. I think all of us as leaders, we still have personal issues, but God can use us. I just want to encourage you, whoever you are, know who you are, get involved in God's big story, and then solve a problem that's happening right now. Get out there and do something, and we can all make this happen. And so right now, I'm just looking at the future like all of us. What's the big issue right now? Well, a whole bunch of them. So God bless you all as leading into Tucson's future. I think it's looking great. So thank you.
So on your table, thank you, Mike. On your table is a printout of the first half of Ephesians 4. I have about an hour and a half Bible study that I want to do with you. I mention that because it increases the level of prayer in the room. Already, you're praying harder that this will be a 5-minute Bible study. So Ephesians 4 is often thought of as kind of the leadership chapter in the Bible. And I want to do, as quick as possible, a highlight tour. I'll pick right up where Mike left off. In the first sentence, who's it addressed to? So you can look at it for yourself. Who's it addressed to? Worthy of the calling you've received. If you've been called by the Lord, it's addressed to you. If you bear the name of Christ, it's addressed to you. Second sentence, be completely humble. I think unity is going to go as far as humility takes it, and no further. That's as far as it's going to go. It'll go as far as humility takes it. One of the premier leadership training opportunities is coming up, the Global Leadership Summit. There's information about it over here on the tables. It's the second week of August. In fact, we move TMA. It's the only time of the year that we intentionally say we're not going to meet. We don't want to compete with that. Bill Hybels every year will say, if you're humble enough, you can learn from anyone. And the other thing that he says is when leaders get better, everybody wins. So it's just an opportunity. If you're not familiar with it and not already registered, you can go for half price if you do it through For Tucson. So you can take twice as many people at the same price by going through For Tucson. Verse 3. I think this is one of the pieces that we've missed. Make every effort to keep the unity. I think when we've experienced unity, we were excited about it, and it was like, boy, I hope it lasts. But this says, make every effort. It's worth every effort. It's not easy, but we're invited to make every effort to make it happen. You've seen verse 4, 5, and 6 before. It's a song. It's a hymn of unity that Paul is quoting, and it's exciting to get to see us sing that song together in ways that we haven't been able to do before. I just find that incredibly exciting. Verse 7 says, to each one of us grace has been given as Christ apportioned it, and then he's going to go on into some of those grace gifts. You might not know this, but in the Greek, the word each means each. Yeah, isn't that cool? Yeah, nobody gets left out. This is for everybody. There's nobody on the sidelines. So then there's an Old Testament quote, and we jump down to verse 11. 5 leadership gifts that are listed there: apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, teachers. Probably we could go around the room, and at every table we'd have multiple different understandings of how those work. Is that a problem? Well, only if we're fighting with each other. Different perspectives is not a problem. That's an asset. That's actually a gift. We can do that together because the purpose in verse 12 is to equip his people for works of service. One of the things that Mike shared is that part of what leaders do is they get other people to do it. I think for me, that's one of the hardest parts of leadership. Most of us go into ministry because we love to do ministry. And then we're the bottleneck. And that's just as true if you're Cherie Gray, who loves to serve refugees. Her mission is not just to have an organization where she gets to serve refugees. It's to equip other people to serve refugees. And the same is true in all the rest of it. That's what the leadership gifts are supposed to do. And then here it is. This is the reason why I wanted us to look at this passage. The end of verse 12. So that the body of Christ may be built up until we all reach unity. Talks about unity in 2 terms: faith, a relational term; knowledge, an intellectual term. We need both. We need relational growth. We need intellectual growth. And become mature, attaining to the whole measure of the fullness of Christ. Unity is the prerequisite for maturity. It's not my idea. That's straight out of Ephesians chapter 4. If we want to reach maturity, unity is the only path to get there. Because the definition of a blind spot is that you don't know what you don't know. And as long as you hang around people who have the same blind spots that you do, they'll never be revealed. So if we want to attain to the full measure of the stature of Christ, if we want to look like Jesus looks like, it'll take all the parts, very different parts. In fact, parts that don't look alike at all, that are not good at the same thing. That's the goal, is we're not supposed to all be good at the same thing. The whole rest of the passage just keeps going, and it talks about exactly the same thing. Verse 14 is a picture of immaturity. It says that's not where we want to be. Verse 15, it'll take all of us to grow in every respect the mature body of him who is the head. And just in case we missed it, verse 16, from him the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. That is what is so exciting, is that we're getting to see ways that each part does its work. If you happen to be one of the folks who likes to, maybe you come to TMA and you skipped lunch so that you could come for the presentation at 12, so sad. Because for the big part of the presentation, we had to flip, and we already did it. So if you missed it, talk to Becky, and she'll be happy to come to your house and give you the 20-minute presentation directly. Because she is a servant. She loves to do those things. So, what we want to do with the rest of our time is begin to illustrate, and begin is the key word, that what Becky put up on the screen is not theory, it's happening. It's happening right here. So there are a number of people that we're going to introduce Each of them have been given the instruction that you have like 30 to 60 seconds to give your elevator speech. So those who are the shortest are clearly the best. No competition, just saying. No, I'm kidding. All right, so I'm going to invite some up by groups, and they follow the groups that Becky talked about. So in the category of getting started, kind of holding us, if we want a transformed city, it will take transformed people. So if the following folks could come on up, I'm going to give you each a chance to share, but come up together. So Dave Strong from Desert Hope Lutheran is going to talk about John 17 weekends. Pastor Dustin is going to come and talk about soul care from Oasis at Rita Ranch. Don Isham, I was so close. From Pantano is going to talk about mending the soul. So Dave.
Clock started. Leadership development relates directly to John 17 weekends. They're retreat-like in nature, 72 hours with Jesus for discipleship and Christian leadership training. Christian unity is fostered through personal interaction with those attending from across the city. Both the leadership team presenting the weekend and the participants span a wide range of age, cultural, and denominational, non-denominational Christian backgrounds. Together in harmony, we celebrate and focus on what we have in common, our Lord Jesus Christ. The next weekends, there'll be men first, and then women will be held in just a few weeks. The deadline for submitting applications to attend is really close, and if you're interested, see Dave Drummery, and we'll be happy to give you more information.
Very good, thank you very
Next.
much. Dustin.
Hello, I'm Dustin DeYoung from Oasis at Rita Ranch. So soul care is essentially a method of biblical counseling that goes away from like the generic counselor and counselee relationship, and more of a we journey in this together. And so really the point of soul care is to hold up, let's pretend this is a mirror, to hold up a mirror and to help people to see who they really are. Because we have a really good and easy way of seeing each other and to see each other's flaws. Like we're really good at seeing each other's flaws, aren't we? Yeah. But a lot of times we don't see that for ourselves. We'll look in the mirror and we don't see that. And so the journey of soul care is really to help people to see how they've been hurt in the past, and how they take that baggage, how they take those hurts and those pains with them, and how they learn to find life apart from God. And so really it's a journey of trying to find who is God truly, and how do I see him in a flawed way, and how do I see myself in a flawed way, and how can I actually restore that image of God in my life and the image of God in myself as well. And so it's really a journey of helping people to see who they truly are, who God truly is, and to walk away from that, from the bondage and the baggage. So,
perfect. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Don Isham from Pantano Christian. I really represent Mending the Soul. My journey, my leadership journey, took me to Phoenix twice, kind of phase 1 and phase 2. The first was a seminary degree, and the second phase was going back up to Phoenix to do very intense therapy and mending the soul work in these mending the soul groups, because I had a tremendous amount of trauma that I brought into my Christian life as a first-year Christian. I've now come back to Tucson. We're at work trying to build the ministry. We've got women's groups and men's groups, but what's the common element here is that the men and women are oftentimes, they're usually fatherless, they're abuse survivors, they're friendless, and their leadership isn't worth following. So the vision for Mending the Soul, it's called the RE3 vision. It's receiving healing in groups, restoring wholeness, and rebuilding community. I've got a tool on the paper, on the tables rather, about an ACE questionnaire. If you've got anyone in question that you think may have trauma, it's a great tool that I have in my toolbox to help people up front identify their trauma. And we're going to be doing a training for Mending the Soul, Lori Navarosky and I, in August. So there's some information on the table.
Perfect. Thanks, Don. There's some literature also available on the financial piece and some of those kind of parts of this as well. So we don't have somebody speaking to that. We also have some folks already that we know of that are doing couples health and marriage ministry. So all of those pieces are available in our city. Next group of folks that I want to invite up, Jeff Love from Alive Church, Ruth Ann Smithrud from St. Andrew's Presbyterian, Dana Yenser from MRI, Dean Glenn Simmons from Wayland. So those four. So one of the things I want to mention as those guys come on up, as Becky presented, she's coming from a church side of things, so a lot of the language was talking about church leaders. But hopefully you're already figuring out whatever the ministry is that you're involved with or connected with, these are pieces that every healthy leader needs, regardless of the setting for ministry. So listen with that lens as you hear some of these pieces. So Jeff.
Oh, my passion is helping with life planning for leaders. It's just a process it's a spirit-led process to help leaders discover their God-given plan and have clear direction with it. It's the vision part of the vision part of CoLab, so I'm excited to be a part of that. And since I'm very competitive, I'm done.
Whoa! Wow. That's a tough bar right there. So, all right, Ruth Ann.
I'll take Jeff's time. I'm Ruth Ann from St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church, and I'm the local outreach director there. And before that, I taught first grade for 27 years, so my passion is uniting the city to serve children and homeless and whatever else we can do to come together to serve. So there are three parts of what I do. The first is a mobile shower unit, and it is the only unit in our city right now. So we like to have partners come along with us and go out with us. And so we're starting to get people from Calvary, and we have a team that leads that. So if you are at all interested in that, please see me, because I would love to have you guys come on board. The second part is service worship, where we give up our services on Sunday and we go out and into the community to serve. That's how I've met so many of you by doing this. It is a beautiful way of sharing God's love, and people are just surprised that we're out there doing things in different neighborhoods and for different people. Oh, Suzette's giving me the stop sign. All right, just one more quick thing. The last thing is partnering with two churches, Good News Community Church and First Church of God, and we partner with Becky with Pantano and Catalina Foothills. So we would love to partner with anything that you can imagine, and that's just the vision that God has given me. Thanks.
Thank you. We have a couple of folks with biblical training pieces in addition. So Dana, come on up.
Good, thank you. My governor here. I'm Dana Yenser, founder of Ministry Resources Institute. It's a Tucson-based nonprofit Bible training and ministry development organization. What we do, we prepare God's people for a lifetime of Bible mastery and ministry development. That's what we do. And here's how we do it. We do it through interactive classroom environment based upon certified coursework and biblical methodology. And here's the reason we do it. We do it to equip God's people from all Christian backgrounds with functional Bible mastery and progressive ministry development applicable to one's calling in Christ. That's who we are. Thank you.
And then the dean from Wayland Baptist.
Wayland Baptist is one of the largest and oldest of the 25 or so universities in America that's affiliated with Southern Baptist. We have 5 locations here in Arizona, and I'm in charge of all of those, as well as our location in El Paso. We have campuses in Alaska, Hawaii, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Texas, and here. I'm in charge of all those in Arizona as well as El Paso. Maybe I said that. We are a liberal arts university offering everything from the associates to the doctorate. We focus on some real good ministry things. We have the Bachelor of Christian Ministry, the Master of Christian Ministry, the Master of Divinity. One of our growing programs here in Tucson is a Master of Counseling, which is, I teach in it. I have a counseling degree. I'm not a good counselor, but I'm a good teacher, I think. But anyway, and I'm very humble. But anyway, Tucson is our youngest campus here in Arizona, but this summer it became our largest campus in Arizona. So we're pretty pleased with that. So kudos to all of our good people here and our graduate Karen back here. So we're real happy. Thank you.
Tucson Bible College is also here in town, and they were not able to be here today, but they have some literature as well. So again, the vision is that we're doing this together, which is kind of cool. So Wendy, I meant to have Wendy come up with the last group. So where, Wendy, come on up. So internship. So there's 3 different groups that we know of that are doing internship, and maybe I'm stealing some of your speech. So with review.
Right. I'm with Pantano Christian Church, and we have a residency internship program, which is 12 months in length, and it's helping people get firsthand experience in what they think they're called to, because as Becky said, sometimes it's not exactly what they had in mind. So they come in for a fee. We give them housing, food stipend, conferences, sometimes assessment, all kinds of exposure. If they think they want to just be involved in one area of ministry, they can do that for the 12 months. If they want to try on everything for size, they're welcome to do that too. Age is no barrier, education's no barrier. That's us.
All right, very good. So there's at least 2 other formal internship programs that we're aware of in the city besides what Pantano is doing. Victory Worship Center is doing one, and so is Gap Ministries. So again, multiple internship opportunities that we have available for us here in Tucson. Next group of folks that I want to invite up are in both the launch and the ongoing growth area. So Jim Roden with Journey E Free, Randy Reynolds, Community Renewal, J. Michael Davis with the For Tucson Social Service domain, and yeah, the last one's not here. So, Pastor's Edge was something that we just got started for senior or solo pastors, and Jim has been part of that group, and so I asked him to just share what it's been like.
Okay, one of the things that I keep running across is that 85% of all churches in America are either stuck or declining. It's brutal, brutal. Only 10% of the ones that are growing by conversion growth. What we discover is that there really are best practices in those 10% churches. Pastor's Edge is about those best practices. And 2.5 years ago, I was fit to be tied. I was so frustrated. And Journey's experienced a great turnaround. Part of it is being a part of this learning community, Pastor's Edge, in discovering these leadership best practices for local churches. Thanks.
Cool. Perfect. Thanks. So we got a couple of folks, Randy and J. Michael, that have some ministries specifically for nonprofits. And so I've asked Randy to talk about one of those.
So I'm just not going to look at Suzette at all. Those stories. So TCCM was started basically for the adolescent stage of Christian development. When you become an adolescent in the church, since most of the time it's top down, and you start to question the authority figures, you're in trouble. So we have launchers here. Jim Toole's back there, he's a launcher. Mark's over here, a launcher, and I guess Becky's the only one, leadership from Pantano. So we have launching models, but what I found 20 years ago is as people launched, they felt like they were still under dad. So they needed a place that they could come and talk as an adolescent that was developing. So TCCM is basically just a group that people that are individuated in their faith can show up and feel like they're not under dad. So we've been fellowshipping for about 20 years, a lot of leaders over the years, and it's really a fellowship group without an agenda. It's great if you're ADD. And it's without an agenda, and people can share and be supported. So that's what it is.
Thank you. Cool. And J. Michael.
Well, I guess I'm losing out in two ways because I thought he said 60 minutes. And I don't talk in elevators, so. But I'm Jay Michael, and I'm the Social Services Domain Director with For Tucson. And as you know, we have hundreds and hundreds of social service organizations, both faith-friendly and faith-based, that are either thriving or kind of doing okay or are basically struggling. And so we feel that collaborative relationships would help them to be able to get into more of the thriving area. So we developed an organization called the Southern Arizona Social Service Alliance, or SASA, for the purpose of gathering these collaborative relationships for professional development, leadership development, also for prayer and support. And we're having a leadership meeting, and the flyers are on the table there, on the 26th of June. So we're not asking for pastors or necessarily churches, just those organizations that work alongside the church. And we're going to be meeting. It'll be free lunch. That's good. Note that, free lunch. And it'll be at 11:45 at the Arizona Baptist Children's Services. Stop. Yes, I will.
Awesome. Thanks. TMA fits into this picture. We do a different topic every month. There's a Spanish TMA as part of the leadership group for that yesterday. How cool is this? One of the things that they are working on is a training for Hispanic pastors and Hispanic ministries to better understand how the American culture works so that our unity could grow in that direction as well. Like one of the examples is we always do RSVPs, and many folks have actually initially been offended because that's not what they've ever been used to. So it's just understanding some of those cultural differences. That's going to help our unity in the city. I just think that's so cool that that's one of the topics that they're going to address. IMA is working with an African American community, again, doing the same kind of things, and we've heard from them before. There's one more person that I want to invite up, a guest from the great town of Phoenix. So Billy Thrall, this is happening not only within Tucson, but this whole idea of collaboration is happening all over the country. So Billy's going to say for a minute about Arizona Movement Day.
All right, try. Phoenix native, but I went to U of A. My dad went to U of A. My son drove with me he's a U of A guy. And then we have other kids. Spent most of my life as an urban pastor in downtown Phoenix. Randy Reynolds has been a life mentor for me my whole life. And then 8 years ago, started doing some nonprofit work and got in touch with a thing called Movement Day out of New York. Tim Keller and Mac Peer were talking about how do we transform the city. Get the smartest people with the biggest hearts in the same place. That's what you're doing here. And Arizona launched this year. I've been asked, and so I'm leading this full time now. It includes Tucson. If you look in here, For Tucson is a track. Cherie's part of the refugee team. Bernadette's part of the school partnership team. And we'd love for you to come up. It's at GCU. They're hosting. They're a partner in this conversation. It's an Arizona conversation, but it's really about how do we together transform our neighborhoods. So there's going to be a lot of the 20 issues that I think pop up all the time. Foster care. Sue and I are buddies through the care portal. And so I'm done. There's information right in this flyer right here.
Thank you. So cheers for everybody. We did it. That's like the whole list. We did it.